Welcome back to the channel. Well, last episode I had a lot of fun tasting and featuring some edible weeds in my garden, and this episode I thought I'd feature an edible indigenous plant, one of my absolute favourites, the mountain pepper. The mountain pepper is indigenous to the cooler eastern parts of Australia in the high country. They're a forest floor plant, so they'll live under a canopy and alongside a small stream. They're very special in this garden though, because they're also indigenous to this region. Again, in the sort of more damper areas. This is Ngunnawal and Ngambri country, and the traditional owners use this plant for culinary and also medicinal purposes. For medicinal purposes, the plant has some antifungal and antibacterial properties and was used, say, for example, for a toothache. It could be mixed into a paste and placed against the tooth, and I guess some of the antibacterial properties of the plant would come into play. And I am aware that there's a lot of modern medical research into the plant and its properties. And for culinary purposes, the people traditionally use the green waxy leaves fresh, or you could dry them and use the leaves to season meat. And that was all year round. You have access to the leaves. And then when they're in season, you also have access to a berry, and it has a lovely spicy sweet flavour to it. It is a beautiful ornamental plant, but in the wild, it can grow up to about 5 metres tall. I have mine in 2 containers because I have a very small garden. I also am protecting them a little bit because although the plant is indigenous to this area, it is more suitable to a forest floor canopy where there's a bit of water running through, so a damp, rich, composty soil, away from hot western sun or the hot afternoon sun of summer, and also some early frost protection. They're pretty hardy as they get older, but in their younger years they do need some protection. Pepperberries need a male and a female to reproduce. This is the female. The male needs to be nearby. This is the male flower, tiny cream coloured thing, and it's actually bigger than the female flower. It's a pretty landscaping plant with lovely red stems and glossy green leaves. And as a container plant, it's very attractive. To keep the energy in the female plant for the berry production, I'm picking the leaves off the male plant. The favourite combo in my house is the mountain pepper leaves, saltbush, seasoned on top of tomatoes, and then slow roasting the tomatoes. A nice combination is the pepper leaf and cinnamon myrtle. And this is the cinnamon myrtle. I've only ever used the leaves. I've always missed the berries. They sort of happen at a certain amount of time and then the birds get them. But the leaves are here and I use them in different things. I just keep adding hot water to this tea, and as it steeps over time, the peppery and cinnamon flavours start to come out. Yeah, quite a spicy but subtle flavour. So it's a nice interesting tea if you like herbal teas. Very mellow and rounded though, very, very flavourful, a little bit dry, hard to describe, quite sweet, peppery and cinnamony. So a combo of cinnamon myrtle and pepper leaf. Cheers. The pepperberry is beginning to set berries and they'll be ripe by autumn. There's also a little bit of new growth coming on, which is good. The plague soldier beetles are not as bad as they sound. They're an omnivorous beetle from this area. They're good for hunting down aphids. In the mix of things to grow in the garden, I have become a lot more interested in growing local plants. So apart from the obvious ecological advantages in that you're supporting local insect and bird life, it's also very easy to grow these plants because they like the local weather, they like the local soils, so you don't have to spend all your time maintaining them, and they grow well. So, you know, they flower with a flourish, they love where they live. And so yes, great advantages in growing local into the mix. This is the bluegrass lily, whose tubers may have been eaten by the local peoples. The back here is the wee jasper spider flower, which is critically endangered in the natural environment. These are a hardy grevillea, becoming popular in the garden. They've been propagated and sold as garden plants. I mean, it's tragic to lose them in their natural environment though, so I hope there's some work going towards saving their home. The chef's hat coria is equally threatened in its natural environment. These plants are often propagated in local nurseries, and also there's a native plant society in this region that sells them as tiny tube stock. There's a chef's hat. This plant lives under feral tree that casts a lot of shade and steals a lot of water, but it just keeps hanging in there, fills in a nice green space. The mint bush, its leaves smell very aromatically of mint, and it has a beautiful display of purple flowers in spring. Hardenbergia has a bright purple flower in end of winter, early spring, and was used by the Ngunnawals as a mouthwash, and also the stems were used as a rope. And these are Lyria, sometimes called bush daisies, dusty daisy bush. This flowers, unlike the other two, all through the bushlands of Canberra when it's in season, and it's such a sight. And this local native raspberry, when the fruit is ripe, would have been picked fresh off the plant. And here we are back at the mountain peppers in their new home. I'm going to move the mountain pepper into a sunnier position because this is almost full shade. So I'm going to monitor it though, because it's actually doing quite well here, but see if I can get the berries to set in a sunnier position. Unfortunately, I split the male pot when I was moving it, and so I'm going to be repotting this plant today. I think they'll be happier here in their new sunny position. When this split, a huge amount of water ran out, so the plant was existing in quite a boggy environment, which surprised me and seemed to be doing okay. So a self-watering pot will be good to replant this into. It apparently grows very easily by cutting. However, it's slightly early in the season, but I'm going to have a go. The stick is just to make the hole. I've cut most of the leaves off and knocked off any baby berries. There's a little bit of new growth on here. Hopefully it takes. The thing I've read about mountain peppers is that it can take up to a year for the cutting to set. It's not too root bound, pretty good. So that height, it's about that far down, which means when you water it, it doesn't like all flow out, it actually sinks down in. Pack the edges down quite firmly. Water in with seaweed. It's all done. I think the tree is already responding well to the sunnier position. There are some commercial companies these days that are selling the pepper berries. That smells really nice. I read that one of the issues with commercial production is that just some years, inexplicably, the trees don't produce any berries. This is the second year only that I've had berries, and last year the birds got them all, so hopefully this year I get to have a go at drying my own berries. All right, I'm going for grilled cheese on toast and pepperberry. Almost burnt it, but anyway, it's still completely edible. This is cheese tax. It's beautiful, very savoury flavour. It's nice to try a different flavour. I highly recommend either having a go at growing some mountain pepper, either in a pot or in the garden, or just buying some of the berries. It's delicious. Well, thank you for watching all the way through to the end, and I'll hope to see you in the next video. Bye.